Hey, how's it going, universe? Welcome to another episode of Zoobox Goes to the Movies. And this week, Mike from Zoobox Corporate has returned to the show to discuss the 1988 comedy Crocodile Dundee 2.
The world's favorite adventurer is back for more.
Mick!
Yeah?
You're back!
Yeah?
You're back!
Yes, what?
I missed you.
I know.
The drinks are on the house.
More action. More excitement.
Don't try to stop me.
And more of everything.
What's he like in bed? I don't know. He still sleeps on the floor.
Paul Hogan is Crocodile Dundee 2.
Yes.
So,
Hey, I didn't realize how big this movie was when it came out.
yeah, I guess Crocodile Dundee, the first one, was like a very popular movie.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I look at like the box. This thing did over $100 million
In 88, yeah. So
Yeah.
it actually did pretty well. I think it was a much anticipated movie. It came out 2 years after the original, which is kind of it's interesting, I'm not super familiar with these movies. I didn't really watch them when I was growing up. I mean, I saw them. I think I saw them on TV or something, but they never left much of an impression on me.
Okay, see, when I was here, I'll say this: they did not last as good as what I thought them. Because when I watched them with the kids, when I was a kid, I probably watched maybe once or twice, and I thought they were the coolest movies when I was maybe 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Because these movies weren't in my house. Like I mentioned, I watched them at our grandpa's house. And when I was a kid, I thought these were, because I like movies like this, like Crocodile Dundee, just the Outback. I was into that when I was a kid.
Yes.
And so I thought these movies were like the coolest movies when I was a kid.
Well, just because the aesthetic and stuff like that, just like the concept itself, like this dude from the Australian bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's kind of he's a very stoic character, right? Like he's not himself. He's funny because people just think he's so cool. Like that's every joke about Mick Dundee. Mick Crocodile Dundee is basically just like, what a badass, dude. How cool is this guy?
前、上手だった。上手。Thank you. Shot me fire.
You know who that was?
誰？
Clint Eastwood.
クレント・イーストウッドか。あ、違う。クレント・イーストウッドはとっても高いです。
Yes, very tall.
Yeah, I thought he was I thought this is how the crocodile hunter was, off camera. When I was a kid.
Well, that's it's everything that happens. And now we're talking about Crocodile Dundee 2. This episode is specifically about Crocodile Dundee 2, which is a drastically different kind of movie in a weird way than the first one. The first one's kind of lighthearted, and it's a little bit more like a fish out of water story, except it just has both the characters. In the beginning, the woman Sue, she goes to the Australian outback to cover this dude and write a piece about him, and then he goes back with her to New York. So they both kind of have this experience of being out of their own element.
Yes.
And and that's where they mine kind of all the comedy from. And the first one, it's pretty obvious stuff. It's kind of very similar to what the first 20 minutes of Crocodile Dundee 2 are like. Because now apparently he's some sort of folk hero. He's literally throwing dynamite in the fucking river. And he's and they're like, fucking crazy Dundee, man. You crazy Australians.
Hi, Sarge. I might have known it would be you. Breakfast. Get out of here. Come on, let's go.
That's every joke is wacky Australian people.
So did you remember this movie a lot when you watched
No,
it?
I remembered nothing about it. I was so taken aback by how serious it was.
See, when I remember it vaguely, but I just honestly I thought it was going to be better.
Well, you think it's going to be kind of, a lot of times when you make sequels, especially comedy sequels, they kind of just double down on the formula that made the first one successful.
Well, I mean, I thought it was gonna like if I go back and watch some movies when I was a kid, like some of them are still really good. I thought that's how this was gonna be. Now I haven't watched the first one yet in a long time. Like I haven't watched it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I watched the second one, and I remember vaguely the second one, like kind of like the rough outline of the story. I just thought it was way cooler. I thought it was going to be way cooler when I put it on.
I thought it was like going to be like wackier. Like I thought they were wackier, but they're not. They're pretty like low key. And like the first one, I didn't get to watch the entirety of the first one, but I kind of like, because I watched the second one, I was like, there's no fucking way. There's no way that this is the tone of like the famous Crocodile Dundee movie. There's like no way, because it's so oddly dramatic. Like it's about like the serious thing with these like drug smugglers and kidnapping and then like the second half of the movie is like this cat and mouse game out in the Australian bush, but nothing really like funny ever happens. Like nobody's like making jokes outside of like the barely.
Well, after they left the city, no.
Like the first 20 minutes, it's like, they have a scene with the guy who's going to kill himself.
Yeah.
And so he's walking out on the ledge, and he talks to him. But he's so crazy, Mike. He's so wacky.
And he's like, that bitch. and then he's like, I loved him. And then Crocodile Dundee slips. Because he's not used to that.
Yeah.
He doesn't come from where there's gay folk around.
I know you could not do that joke in 2021. Yeah.
No, but when I was looking at it, like I didn't realize like just how big it was. Like this movie did more than Rambo 3.
Actually, did it really?
And more than Die Hard.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I guess because it was such like this cross appeal. It's a weird thing. So Paul Hogan, as an actor, is like known for sketch comedy in Australia. He would do like sketch comedy.
Okay.
He had a show called The Paul Hogan Show. It was like kind of a big thing overseas in Australia and the UK. It was like a big show. And they make Crocodile Dundee as a vehicle literally to like bring him to America. Like bring Paul Hogan to America. So he writes this movie for himself, basically.
He wrote this movie?
Yeah. And it ends up being fucking huge because he already had like a built-in audience overseas. And then when he comes to America, this is kind of his introduction to most Americans. And people, I think, just liked the character. Because if you're going to say anything works about even Crocodile Dundee 2, it's Paul Hogan. Like he's pretty like, he's charming. Like you like watching him. You like his character.
Yeah. I did like his character, man, but when I was a kid, man, I thought his outfit was a lot cooler too. Like I was like thinking when I was a kid I was gonna dress like that.
Well, it's like when he gets to Australia, when he gets back to Australia, he's like, gotta pop that shirt off, dog.
Yeah.
All I need is my vest.
But are you shocked about how big it was? Because I didn't know it was that big.
I mean, I knew that the first one was big. I guess I didn't even think about how big the second one was. But I guess it makes sense because the first one, just from doing some of the research, like the first one was fucking huge. Like a huge movie. That's why this one comes out like less than 2 years after the first one comes out. Like this goes into production like immediately.
Yeah, but I mean, I get all that, but that's, I don't know. I guess like it doesn't, like Die Hard and Rambo 3, right? Like those are still movies people know about and talk about. Like they're not fresh in people's heads, but people know what they are.
Well, at least Die Hard is it's a classic. Everybody's seen Die Hard. Everybody likes Die Hard for the most part,
And then Rambo 3 is just in that whole collection of Rambos, so people know what it is. But if you say Crocodile Dundee, there's going to be a lot of people nowadays that
they like vaguely remember it. They're like, yeah, I know what it is. Maybe I saw it. It's kind of like probably how I was going into it. I'm like, yeah, I know what it is, and I think I remember watching it like when I was younger, and I know I definitely saw the first one. I don't know if I've ever watched the second one. Like I can't.
I've watched the second one
because it was so. I felt so jarred by the movie. Like the whole movie, like every scene, I was like, why the fuck did they like turn Crocodile Dundee into this? Like, because I guess Paul Hogan has like this. He had this idea that like he thought like people liked Crocodile Dundee because he was a badass. Yeah. Instead of he's not like a comedic character. Like he's a badass in the same vein as like a John Wayne or a Clint Eastwood or.
I thought that's how he's supposed to be.
I guess no. I is that how he comes off to you?
He comes off to me as like a badass. Yeah, he's got like the big fucking knife, dude. And it seems like to me, everybody in like the 1980s was obsessed with like huge knives.
Oh, like because Rambo. I mean Rambo.
Well, Rambo, but I like just seemed like back in that era, like all the dudes, like you watch any like war movie, they all had giant knives, like big knives, you know. But even like the cover dude, he's got like ripped sleeves, he's holding a damn knife, he's got his woman up by his side, like a blonde. He looks like a badass.
Yeah, he does. He does. That's the kind of weird thing about it. It was like incongruent with like my memory of Crocodile Dundee was like a much sillier thing. And then I watched the movie and I was like, oh, this is not that silly. Like I was expecting it to, like I said, to be like wacky. And it wasn't wacky. Like it's
wacky in New York.
It's wackier in New York, yes.
I mean, there's some. I mean, like that.
When he's throwing dynamite in the river and shit. Yeah, I mean that's pretty wacky. And the cops are like, "Ah, you crazy Dundee."
Or what about like that? Like the guy he works for, like the sales guy. He's like, "I'm cool, man. I'm cool."
Hey, you be cool.
Oh, what is it? Leroy Brown?
Yeah.
Bad Leroy Brown. The guy who's selling like stationery.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many like weird like little characters, especially because the movie is like split up into two distinct parts. So like the first part of the movie is like reintroduction to Dundee, seeing that he's still kind of like a fish out of water. He's
in New York.
Apparently he's the most well-known man in this area, but he can't find a job. He's like looking for a job, so he goes to a bar and he's just like, I want to make an announcement. My name is Mick Dundee, and I'm looking for work.
Any suggestions? It's enough job hunting for one day.
Because that's what you would do in the Outback. You know, you'd go to the bar and be like, hey, how's it going, everybody? I need some help. And they'd be like, okay, but not in New York. Not New York City. But yeah, like, because the movie split up into that, and then his girlfriend gets kidnapped because like her ex-husband sent pictures of some sort of drug running operation in South America to her because she's like a writer, and then Dundee has to go in and save her, and then the cops aren't doing a good enough job for him with the witness protection stuff, so he's like, we're going back to Australia so we can like fight on even playing ground.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta see where they're coming from.
Yeah, and then he just like basically is kind of like I don't know, what would you call him? Like it's like he's like the Predator. He's like picking them off one by one.
One by one. What did you think about the native people they had there? Because like they didn't do a very good job picking those guys.
The Aboriginals.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
well, just like their accents, they sounded like Australian.
He wants to know if we're allowed to eat these men.
Well, I mean, they live in Australia. I guess if you're more like, what's the word? Like domesticated, like domestic in a sense, like, you know, they have a lot of interaction with like.
Yeah, but I thought they were like
people.
out there, like the way they made it sound is like only Dundee's been in that part of the Outback in the region in the native people.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. But the guy who says it is his friend Wally. Is that his friend's name?
I think so.
Well, they're a bushman, and there's Mick Dundee. He knows about their magic, their black magic. Some people say that he talks to the animals.
The old guy?
Yeah, the old dude. And I think he's doing it just to like freak out the drug smuggler people.
But I think he's doing that, but I thought he was like serious as well. Like, hey, like, we don't go out here. Only, the only people that go out here are Dundee and the natives. And that's it. So when I think of like the natives, I think of like, if you watch other movies and like Australia, like they're much more
savage. Like Quigley Down Under, is that what it's called?
Is that the cowboy one?
Yeah, the one with Tom Selleck. That's in the Australian Outback, and there's the Aboriginals are in that.
Yeah,
movie.
Those are like real savage, like Outback people.
Yeah, I guess like the ones that they're talking to, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's just like a dumb conceit because they have to have it in the movie and they have to have them communicate and.
Well, I know, but they should just use the native tongue.
Listen, Paul Hogan went Hollywood immediately. Okay, he has lost connection to his homeland.
Does he play in any other movies?
Yeah, he did a couple other ones. Not a ton though. What are the other movies Paul Hogan did? Well, Flipper. I'm sure you've seen Flipper.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Let me see here. Yeah, Crocodile. Then he did another movie that he like wrote himself called Almost an Angel.
Okay.
That came out.
I didn't know he wrote that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's directed by the same guy who directed Dundee 2. A small-time crook becomes convinced he is an angel after a traumatic incident and resolves to perform the work of one.
So, the director was different from the first one to the second one?
Yes, yeah.
Do they do that a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Probably at the time.
And that's like just like a standard thing where they would like... different directors will direct it?
It depends. I mean, it depends. Not all movies like have a continuity of like people that work on them, Usually it's just like the character or the star or whatever. And it seems like because they had a working relationship afterwards. Actually, I think the guy who directed Dundee 2, whose name is John Cornell, he only directed a few movies, but he is one of the writers and producers of the original Dundee. And he was I think involved in Paul Hogan's show. Like his sketch show. So he was like an actor and he was a writer on it.
I see.
Yeah, so he only directed 2 movies. He directed Crocodile Dundee 2 and Almost an Angel. That was it.
Wow.
But I mean, he must have made a ton of money. I think that's kind of what the deal was. Like he's, because he did Flipper, then he did some TV movie called Floating Away, and then he does Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, the 3rd movie.
Tell Sue I'll take her somewhere really special for dinner. You're gonna love this place, trust me.
Great stuff, Mick. Now back to the show.
Ooh, I gotta watch that. I gotta watch the first one and that one.
Well, Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles, I know, is on Amazon Prime.
And have you watched it? Was that one big? Because I haven't even looked into that. I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
It was a huge bomb, and I think it was like considered like one of the worst movies that came out that year. But even though like Crocodile Dundee 2 did very well, it is not a well-liked movie.
That's what I mean.
It has 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, 38% audience score, and that's over 250,000 people gave it a score. Yeah, but I understand why. Like I have to say, like I was just kind of like confused the whole time. I was like, I didn't know. It's just like it doesn't like have a tone.
Let me ask this: some people say that it's like a lot of people don't like it. They say that it's sexist.
Is that why they don't like it?
Some people, yeah.
I've heard that probably about the first one, especially.
Well, about this one too.
Because she's like a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. She's not that much of a damsel, though. Once they go to Australia, she holds her own.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I did off of the second one. I haven't seen the first one, but the second one I didn't really catch that like a sexist vibe to it. But that's what some people were saying when I was reading online.
Well, that's like his character, because this is another problem with Dundee too. Like, it is not operating as like its own movie. It's operating as like, no, you know who these people are, so we don't have to like explain.
Yes, that is a crucial thing. When I watched it, it was like it would have been helpful to watch the first one. And
there's no character arcs. Like usually, like even if you make a sequel to something, it's about the same character. You can have him go through like a different experience where he kind of learns something. But even in the first one, I don't remember, like, I don't think he has much of an arc in that either. It's more like the woman, Sue, who has the arc. Because she, like, grows to love, like, this rough and tumble, outback, kind of chauvinistic dude. Like, she falls in love with him. Like, and then she brings him back to New York while she is already kind of involved with this other guy, this beta dude. And then she, ends up picking Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, but who wouldn't?
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, like the first movie's so goofy that Crocodile Dundee is like in a subway ready to leave, and to get back to Sue, he has to walk on the heads of all the people in the crowd because it's so crowded. Like that's happens in the first one. Like it's goofy like that. Whereas this one really didn't have that. Like it didn't have any of it. There was no life to this movie. It was like almost like I felt it's like so dead on arrival. I didn't laugh one fucking time.
Oh, come on. You must have laughed a few times.
Dude, I didn't laugh one time.
Not with like the sales guy. He's like, I'm cool, dude, man.
That was funny. Yeah, it was kind of funny. But like I was high too. Like one of the times I watched it, I was just like when I watched it when I was on edibles, I was just like I was like mad at the movie.
Well, I thought it was stupid. Honestly, like, it let me down. That's why I said it let me down. Like, I thought the movie was going to be so much cooler. I thought it was going to be like a classic, man. I was like, oh, man, this is like a diamond in the rough that I haven't watched forever. Wasn't really allowed to watch it in my house. So, I watched it maybe once or twice. That's all I've ever seen this movie. This is probably like the third time at most. And I remember, like, I loved it when I was a kid.
Yeah, because you glommed onto, like, just like the cartoon two-dimensional character of Dundee. Like he is like kind of in some kind of very basic immature way like a cool guy. Like and the movie is just constantly telling you that he's cool.
And then like he's like a wild man too. He's kind of like a inflated crocodile hunter dude.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, not as
well. He's just from like the Australia, and his name's Crocodile Dundee. So for me, that's what it was like when I was like, that's how I used to think when I was a kid.
Well, because I just remember, like, I bet, like, if you go watch like the trailer for this, I'm sure it sells this movie as much more like wacky comedic movie. Okay. Like, I bet you it does. It must but credit to them. Credit to the people that made Dundee 2. Like, they tried to do something different. It's structurally the same as the first movie in the sense that, like, the first movie, it also takes place in, like, two parts. The first half's in Australia, the second half's in New York. This one, the first half's in New York, the second half's in Australia. But they tried to do something different because it is, like, a darker movie. It has a more serious tone to it. And that's why I couldn't, like, get over it. Like, I can take Dundee seriously as like a comedic badass, like in a comedy.
Okay.
But the second you try to like actually like try to be like realistic, and there's like more like real world weight to what is going on, I was just like, no. Like when he's like turns into a super spy, he's like fucking James Bond, going in to break the girl out, kidnap her, or to rescue her from being kidnapped.
It's awesome. No, but I did think this, like, if I'm gonna like it wasn't as good as what I thought it was gonna be. I'd probably give this out of like a 10. I'd probably give this movie like a 4. And I thought it was gonna be like a 7.
Yeah. You thought it was gonna hit at least the 7 threshold?
Well, because dude, I just remember it. Like I remember loving this movie when I was a kid. It was like, I saw it.
Was it this one that you loved, or did you love the first one?
It was both of them.
Okay. Well, you said you remembered pretty much the basics of the plot. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember this one. This one was I think I've seen this one more than the first one.
Yeah.
Honestly. I don't really remember the first one that much. That's why I watched this one, because I remember watching this. Yeah. And this is kind of like a movie where you could, as a kid, you could pick it up and just kind of know that he's from the Outback and they met somehow. Mm-hmm. And you didn't really need the first one to watch it.
No, not really, because it is obviously makes a lot of references to the first one, but if you don't if you don't know them specifically, like you get the point. Like you get the gist of what these people are, like what they're all about, kind of, right? Especially and that's another weird thing in the movie because it has like that two-part structure almost that like you have all of these characters in New York, and then you go to the Outback for an entirely new cast of characters that I suddenly have to get to know and I guess care about.
And that threw me off because I thought the sales guy was going to be bigger. Like when I was watching it this time, I thought he was going to play a bigger part.
Well, he's the sidekick for half of the movie.
Yeah, and then he's just gone.
And then he's just gone for the last 50 minutes, and you're just like, what? That's what I'm saying. Like, because then they go to Australia, and he's like, oh, well, we have new sidekicks. Remember the sidekick from the first movie? Like now he's like kind of back. He's back in here now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're back in Australia. It's different. Like it's just kind of sloppy. Like and you don't give a shit about anything that is happening, or any of the characters. Like,
well, because I started to get a hold of that, that sales guy. I was like, man, I'm digging this dude. I like him. And then he's just gone.
I mean, because you would imagine, wouldn't that be comedy gold, bringing that dude to the fucking Australian bush?
It would have been great.
And have to deal with, like, snakes and spiders and crocodiles and, like, the city bird, the city bug or whatever.
Or what about just making it, like, the battle, or, like, bringing those hood rats with them? Or just, I thought, like, those kids that used to howl, when I was watching it, I thought they were bigger in my mind from when I was a kid, like a bigger part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that was like one of my favorite parts was when I was a kid is when he snuck in there and they're all howling. I used to love that scene, dude. I thought that shit was cool as hell.
See, your dreams were so small when you were a kid. You're like, man, I want to be one of those howling kids. I just want to help.
I wanted to be Dundee, man.
You want to be Dundee?
I just thought it was cool that he got him, and they were like, because I grew up in like a rural place, so there were like two different worlds there. Like you could get them to work with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I agree with you because I think it's almost like you think that's what something like that would happen. Like you set up all of these things.
Yeah.
And then you don't do anything with them. Then you just literally drop it, never mentioned again. Like,
and then they're gone. After that scene, they're gone.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so you've set something up that almost acts like it's going to foreshadow something that's going to happen later, and nothing like that ever happens. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, it's just like not well written. It's just sloppy as fuck. And it's just like one scene after another. I feel like you could rearrange, like if you took the first half of this movie, like you could rearrange scenes and it really almost wouldn't matter. Like, because a lot of them exist in a vacuum and actually don't have very much to do with the plot. All the plot stuff's happening like in the background for the first like 45 minutes, and then it becomes all about the plot in the second half of the movie.
Yeah, and now that you bring that up, I really didn't like. I mean, they should have. I felt like they should have kept it in New York, not even went back to the Outback.
Yeah, because it's like one of these things. Like I think it's like trying to have their cake and eat it too. Because they basically were copying what they did in the first one, they just backwards. And like
backwards, yeah.
The part of the story is supposed to be, oh, now she understands why he doesn't like belong in New York, and she wants to live in Australia.
Yes.
Even though the movie doesn't fucking set that up at all, she just kind of says it at the end of the movie. Like, it doesn't set up that she's, like, concerned that he's homesick. Like, because the movie doesn't have any time for that. She gets kidnapped, like, pretty quickly. Like, pretty early on in the movie.
Well, don't they kind of, like... I guess in the beginning, when he's trying to find a job, he's, kind of...
Yeah, they're saying that he doesn't fit in. He doesn't understand.
Yeah, and he's just kind of doing nothing. He's kind of getting bored.
Well, because they said that I think this movie is supposed to take place either 6 months or a year after the end of the first one. So he's been there for a minute. What the fuck has he been doing? Because he's just been living off this lady.
Well, isn't he kind of wealthy now?
Yeah, no, they find out that he's rich in the second one.
Well, he's
rich. He owns tons of land in Australia, and then part of what he owns is a gold mine.
But it hasn't been mined yet.
Yeah. I know. So he has like a gold mine that hasn't been mined.
No, I thought he was like wealthy from his from like the books.
Is that what they say? Is that what they
I don't.
imply?
I maybe I just kind of.
He's independently wealthy. So what you're saying is he's not a bad guy. He's not living off this woman, the city woman.
No, I thought they I thought they implied that he made money from the books as well as she did, and they were just mutually benefiting each other from it.
Well, that's what. So okay.
Maybe I was wrong. I don't know.
Well,
That's what I thought.
I think that must be what the arrangement is there. But the timeline of the movie is it's only like a year at most, a year after the first one. So she like wrote and published the book that became wildly successful in a very short period of time, apparently.
Well, isn't that why he's like a folklore? I thought she wrote about it.
I thought she wrote in a newspaper. I thought.
Oh, okay.
Like
Maybe it's a
article or
newspaper.
something.
Maybe I'm wrong then.
I think she wrote an article. Yeah, because everybody kind of knows who he is a little bit.
Okay.
It's like, you know, he's like a celebrity. He's like a quasi celebrity walking around New York City. People recognize him and stuff.
Okay. Maybe that's where the first one would have been helpful to watch to get that.
Maybe, possibly.
Because I thought it was a book that she wrote.
I don't think so.
But
dude, honestly, I could be wrong because it just blows past details like that so quickly. Like it doesn't have any desire to like really, because that could be something like you could mine that for drama. You could mine it for something with these characters, something between them, other than the fact that like, yo, dude, Dundee's cool and she likes him a lot. Like,
but she's pretty good. I don't know why she's not in more movies, but I actually liked her as an actress.
Oh yeah, she's a good actress. She did not do very much. Apparently, she met Paul Hogan on the first one. They got married.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's been in all the movies that Paul Hogan's been in.
Okay, and that's it?
Kind of, yeah.
And are they still married?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because she even came back for the third one. She's in the third one.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was good in it. Like I honestly think she was the best.
She's very attractive.
When you wake up, it's a new morning.
She's
but I think she was like the best just actor.
Probably like actually gave like what feels like a performance.
Yes.
I mean, Paul Hogan. I would say Paul Hogan is fine. I just like.
He's fine. I
don't know if he has a ton of range or anything. I just like. It is one of these things where it's like he's like a macho, tough action dude that has, and it's like he doesn't have much self-awareness. He's not that fun to me. Like his character just isn't that funny to me. Like just being aloof. That joke runs thin pretty fast. Like when you're just like, oh, he doesn't understand how people here act.
No. Not at all.
And especially like if you watch the first one, that's the entire second half of that movie too. It's the same jokes.
Yeah, and the first one, I think I remember when he goes to New York, like he doesn't even know how people talk. Right?
Yeah, he doesn't understand the vernacular. He goes up to Carl Winslow from Family Matters, this black guy who's like a doorman at the at this place that they're staying at, their apartment complex or whatever. And he's like, "What tribe are you from, mate?" And he's like, "Tribe." He's like, "Yeah, you're a black fella, ain't you?"
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, or like when is it in the first one or when he's like talking and like the guy's like, "What's up?" and he's like,
"Yeah."
He doesn't understand the light, like
he doesn't get it, Mike. He doesn't get
the language.
Apparently, one of the things I saw when I was looking up stuff about it, the film is heavily influenced by the Rambo films.
Well, that's what I was going to say about the knife.
Dundee uses his hunting skills in the Australian outback on the drug cartel that kidnapped Sue Charles. So they're saying because, like, that's what I mean. Like, they fancy this character as like a John Rambo-esque character.
Yeah,
and I understand, like, in a comedy, like, yes, if you're kind of having fun with it and you're making jokes, but if I'm supposed to seriously feel that way about him, I don't know.
But Rambo's serious.
Rambo's deadly serious.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about his knife, and that's why I was saying, man, like I don't know if they copied Rambo with the knife, but they just made his knife huge, like Rambo's knife.
Yeah, I guess.
Like Rambo's knife is so big that I don't think anybody would actually ever use that damn knife. And his knife in this movie is so fucking big. It's like, dude, like look at this knife. It's like this big.
Yeah, it's a big old Bowie knife.
But who have you ever seen use one of those? Nobody.
I've seen Rambo. And I've seen Crocodile Dundee. There's two people.
But it's like they copied that from Rambo, I feel. They took the
knife.
I
think they did. I think that they were cribbing some of that stuff. They're like, oh, wasn't that cool in Rambo 2? Like when he's in the jungle fighting people. Like, and then they were like, yeah, dude, we're going to use some of that sauce, that action when we do Dundee 2. He's going to be out in the Australian bush. Man versus nature. Man versus terrorists.
What did you think about the bad guys?
Very forgettable. Like they're just like very stock, sleazy drug cartel guys. Like I almost like no impression. Like I'm glad we're doing this. I didn't have a long gap in between watching it and doing this because I think I would have forgotten the movie again.
Well, honestly, I forgot a lot, and like before I got on,
I
was like, shit, man, I'm like I don't like remember that much. So like I started watching like YouTube videos about like just like scenes, clips of it. Because I forgot a lot. Like, it just went in and out.
That's what I'm saying. It's so forgettable. Like, because there's nothing cohesive about it. There's nothing, like, connecting dots for you, like, where you feel like you have some sort of connection to the movie. Like, the characters are just, they just go about, they don't change. They don't grow. They don't do anything. So there's nothing at the end of the movie that, is memorable at all. Like there's no inflection point or there's nothing good enough or cool enough to even be like, whoa, remember that scene? Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's not like at least in Cocktail they did that. At least in Cocktail
is not forgettable.
Please, throw this bum out of here! Hold it, just hold it!
Jordan, don't go!
Okay.
If you walk out of this house right now, just don't bother coming back.
Dad, I'm going. I love him. I'm going.
You're not going anywhere. Jordan, stop her!
Get fucking hands off her! She's pregnant!
Oh, you asshole!
but the characters grow in Cocktail a little bit.
Yes,
you know.
It's ridiculous and it's like a cartoon, but yeah, I mean they change. They have growth.
Yes.
Whether or not we think they did a great job or it was very realistic, that's a completely different story. But yeah, at least there's like character beats that you can track. This movie doesn't have that. They're all always exactly the same. They're the same people they were at the beginning of the movie as they are at the end of the movie. We don't learn anything. Other than that suddenly she's just like, yeah, I guess we should move to Australia. You got a gold mine, right?
Yeah, the giant gold mine. Which I forgot that she said that, honestly. I forgot that she said that. Why the hell did they make a third one in LA then?
Well, because in LA, they made it 13 years later. It came out in 2001. It's Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. And they go back to America from Australia. You find out they've been living in Australia for the past...
And this is on Amazon?
So you can eat like a pig, and no one can see you. Clever buggers, these Yanks, eh?
Well, this is why LA is famous all around the world for its fine cuisine.
Welcome to Wendy's. Can I take your order, please?
Let me handle this. Good evening, Wendy. There will be 4 of us dining in the car this evening.
More of that movie magic. Now back to the show.
I'm going to have to watch this.
Yes, it's on Amazon Prime, I believe, yeah.
I'm going to watch this.
I have never seen it.
I'm going to watch it.
I read a little bit about it just from like looking up stuff for this.
And was it horrible?
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, what you read.
I've read it's very bad. It was like the worst. It was like, considered the worst movie that came out that year.
Wow. And do you know what the numbers did?
No, it bombed. It was a total bomb. I remember it was a flop. I remember when I was a kid seeing like the trailer for it and seeing the advertisements and
did you want to watch it?
No, because I didn't have any connection to the original movies. Like I don't know. Like I said, I probably saw them one time. and then never watched them again. I probably saw them on cable or something and never revisited them. Yeah.
But that's what's weird because they were so big, right? In that time. That's 1988. When were you born?
Oh, I was in 86.
86.
So it's like, I would have been kind of too young to have like any awareness of it.
But here's the thing. In 1988, you're 2 years old, whatever. But let's fast forward a couple years. You're 10 years old. You knew about Rambo 3. You knew about fucking Die Hard.
Well, a lot of that has to do with like my family, right?
Well,
like,
I know that, but that's what I'm saying.
My parents, my dad, I guess specifically, I don't think gave a fuck about Crocodile Dundee because he wasn't like. There's no time in my life that my father would be like, "Dude, come in, let's watch." Crocodile Dundee.
But that's my point. Is that like people pulled those other movies along with them. Nobody, but that movie was. But that's why it's shocking that this movie was so big, and it did so well when it came out, but it never got pulled.
Yeah, well, it's because it's kind of just like a movie of its time, Like, I guess a good, like, maybe modern analogy for comedy. Remember that movie, Bruce Almighty?
No.
But you know what it is, right?
I never seen that movie.
You never saw it? Well, Bruce Almighty was a fucking huge movie when it came out.
How long ago?
When did Bruce Almighty come out? The one of, which movie I'm talking about with Jim Carrey?
No.
And he gets, like, the power of God.
Oh, yes. I never seen it, but yeah.
So that movie was huge, right? It was huge, and that would have been right in your wheelhouse, 2003. So this is prime time for you to be a child and be exposed to these things.
Well, that movie would probably be hard.
Nobody talks about Bruce Almighty anymore. Like, it was a huge movie. It made a giant splash when it came out. And then within a few years, it's kind of just obscurity. Same thing, kind of, I guess. There was nothing strong enough to bring Dundee into the zeitgeist further, like, because they didn't keep making movies, and Paul Hogan wasn't like a guy that was in a ton of movies all the time either. Like, the next time I'm more familiar with Flipper.
From Universal Pictures, America's favorite dolphin, Flipper. Paul Hogan.
Sandy, a man should never hurl in front of his woman.
I saw Flipper like 50 times when I was a kid.
Ah, I see. I've only seen Flipper a couple times. I don't even remember him in Flipper.
You're missing out, dude. He's the guy. I'm actually, basically, the way I'm dressed right now is an homage to his character in Flipper.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Porter Ricks. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just shocked how big it was and how, like, when I was reading online that it did more than Rambo 3 and Die Hard, I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, it was just something that probably kind of just hit at the right time, And like I said, like we said, the first one was a huge fucking movie. It was giant. And it was giant all over the world, like globally successful. Like,
well, I think the second one was too.
I think so, probably as well, yeah.
And also the second one, if you watch the Australian version, it's longer. It has more scenes in it.
Oh, shit, dude. See, this is what we're talking. It's probably all the good stuff. It's probably
all the good shit.
It's probably all the character stuff. They said these Americans, they don't need these.
It's probably all the good stuff. We need to watch that one.
I gotta watch the extended version. Can you even get the extended version?
I don't know. I didn't look, but that's just what I was listening to.
Okay.
That there's two different versions. There's like an Australian one.
Yeah, it's like probably an international cut of the movie, and then there's the American cut. To extended version. Yeah, it actually, it's probably like the TV version.
Oh, wow.
A lot of times, NVIDIA or cut. Oh no, actually, I don't know. Sticky Beak and Busybody and Overdose. There's some swear words in the Australian one that's not in this one. Yeah, because they would say fuck. They said not too many fucks in the other one. But a lot of times, you'll see that when they would put movies on network television, they would want them to fill like a 3-hour slot, even though it's like the movie wouldn't be long enough to do that. So a lot of times there would be alternate versions of the movies that had like added scenes and stuff that you only saw like on NBC. It was like the only time it was ever broadcast that way.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of movies were like that, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, to be honest with you, this movie it let me down. I was on Delta 8 when I watched it, and
It didn't make it better?
it made it a little bit better, but when I was like you said, like I forgot a lot of it, and then when I was watching it this time, like kind of catching back up because like honestly, dude, like I forgot. Like it wasn't like a Cocktail where I was like, I was remembering shit. Like this one, I was just like,
it's so passive. It's so flat. Like it's like I said, it's like a lifeless movie. Like you never feel anything about anything you don't even get excited. Like there's no like build up to the end. It's just like feels.
Yeah, and
there's no sense of escalation or danger or anything. It's like, and I think this is a lot to do with the director. It's just like flatly directed. There's no like sense of rhythm or pace or anything to the movie, so it makes it forgettable. Like Cocktail, though, that's like scene after scene of fucking insanity. Like so, you're just like locked in. You're like super intrigued by what you're watching and how it's going to unfold. Like, how can they be crazier than what they're doing now? Why is this guy doing poems? Like,
yeah. Well, and when I was watching, and I honestly, like when I wanted to do this with you, like I thought it was gonna be, and then I forgot, and I was like, oh shit, man, I gotta go back and remember some of this. So I was like forgetting scenes. Like I forgot the scene when he swung, and he just went through the glass, and he was just like, hey, and walked away. And then I watched it again. I'm like, oh my! I can't believe he did. I didn't even know he did that. I just forgot. Like I forgot that he did that.
Actually, I think I forgot too. Like it's already happening, Michael. Just the holes are just forming in my brain.
You just forget, or like the scene when he hucks his knife and it hits over the guy's head.
Oh, the Mohawk dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just another one of these examples. Is like he would have been. Like, why is this still happening to him? Why is he still acting like he got here yesterday? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, why are we, like, we couldn't have figured something out better for him to do? Like, give him some sort of dramatic pull or something. He's just, like, wanders around for a half hour, and then the movie decides, like, okay, I think we should start.
Which, yeah, they didn't do all.
Dude, I was so confused, like, when they had, like, cut to this dude and, like, all sweating and panicky in, like, South America or Cambodia or where the fuck he was, taking pictures. I'm just like, who the fuck is this dude?
Well, I didn't know that either. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
When they did that. That was random.
And I don't think you find out exactly who he is until, like, Sue mentions it, like, in passing. Like, oh, what did Ben, my ex-husband, get up to now?
Oh, yes. Yeah, because you don't even know.
Yeah, because it's not revealed until she gets kidnapped, and she's like, oh, I don't know, what do you want? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah.
And he's like, oh, don't you lie to me. Your ex-husband. You mean Ben? It's so bad. I honestly, I was just kind of shocked. I was shocked.
But, it being that bad, does it blow your mind of how big it was? That's what blows my mind. It's like how bad when I watched it, how horrible it was. But at the time, because if you watch like Die Hard now, it's a good fucking movie.
Oh yeah, it's aged very well.
Aged
a day. No, I mean like obviously people did not like it, but you also got to remember 1988. Like,
but people did like it.
Well, I'm sure some people did. Like people that just didn't.
At that time, you don't think people liked it?
Oh, I know people liked it. I know people. It's like kind of like a boomer movie. It's like I know a lot of like middle-aged, older people that like love the Crocodile Dundee movies.
See,
I remember growing up, like my friend's Corey's mom, Kathy, and her husband like loved Crocodile Dundee. It was excited about Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. She was like,
oh really?
She was like hyped about it. Well, you got to remember, like, it's just information was not as easy to come by. So there was no internet, there was no Rotten Tomatoes. The word of mouth wouldn't travel in the same way it does now. So like everybody goes see it the first week, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that movie sucked." No, they didn't have that. They didn't have that. So people are like, "Oh, cool!" For like a month, everybody's like, "Fuck yeah, dude, Crocodile Dundee too. Let's go check it out." Like not everybody's reading newspaper reviews.
Yeah, I get
stuff
it. Yes.
like that, I guess there was a couple shows like Gene Siskel, Roger, Ebert and Roper, or not Ebert and Roper, Siskel and Ebert. They were around kind of with TV on television, but it just wasn't as.
But let me ask you, you watched how much of the first one?
I watched probably, I would say, like 70% of it. Like I had to jump around.
So the first one built the second one, obviously. Was the first one good that you saw so far?
Yeah, I think you could safely say the first one's like a light, enjoyable movie. It's stupid, like it's goofy. It's very much of its time. Like it is what it is. Like I don't know, would I like ever want to watch it again? Probably not. Like it just doesn't do it for me. Like I just don't. I find it not that like engaging, or for whatever reason, I just don't.
But it's better than this one.
Yes.
And are you gonna finish it?
Yeah, I'll probably watch it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe I don't know. I did like I watched the vast majority of it because I really wanted to check, but I ran out of time before the recording time because I was like doing some editing earlier and time got away from me, and I was gonna watch it because when I got to the end of the second one I was just like, there's no way the first movie was like this. Like this would not be a successful franchise or whatever you want to call it if the first one was like this. It just no way.
And did you think it was that big before I told you those numbers?
I didn't know that it like outgrossed Rambo 3. I mean, I know Rambo 3 and Die Hard. Although I could believe Die Hard because that's like
that's the first one.
You know, it became more of what it became after it goes on cable and home video, you know.
Yeah. But even still, I mean, I would imagine Bruce Willis was big back then.
No, actually, I mean, Die Hard is like the thing that made him big. He was on.
That was what made him big?
Yeah, he was a TV actor. He was on a show called Moonlighting.
Huh. It's a long fucking time. Dude, think about that guy. That guy was fucking acting in like action movies in like the mid-2000s.
Yeah, actually, I saw. Yeah, he still does. They just go straight to the trash bin. But like, I've been watching the '80s show Miami Vice, and he shows up as like the villain of the week in an episode.
And like, that's new?
No, I'm saying it's from the '80s, like 1984.
Oh, okay.
Like, so it's a very early Bruce Willis. Like, I think I read that was like his 4th credited appearance in anything.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he plays like this sleazy, I think, gun smuggler.
How are those old TV shows? Cheesy as hell?
Oh, I like Miami Vice a lot, actually. Miami Vice is pretty nice. I'm enjoying it. I've
Where
never
you watch that on?
Oh, I had to buy it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was like a bad movie back in the day, man.
What, the movie?
No, the TV show, Miami Vice. That was like, you get in trouble for watching that.
Yeah, it's very provocative, very sexy.
Yeah. What do you give it for a rating, though? Because there's not much really to talk about in this movie.
I'd probably give it like a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not very good, people.
I thought, like, I could not believe how bad it was. Like, I just didn't. I don't know why. I just wasn't prepared for the movie I watched, I guess. And I try to be fair to the movie, and I say, okay, what are the goals of the movie, and does it execute on them? Like, I don't think it does. I think it was supposed to be exciting. I think it was supposed to be kind of thrilling. It's supposed to be funny.
It's better when you're a kid. I'll say that.
Yes, if you're not discerning, maybe like you would have saw the first Crocodile Dundee and just be excited to hang out with Mick one more time. You know?
Yeah, it was. I thought it was gonna be way better when I asked you to do it. Like when I sent you that was like when it was still in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, I was like, whatever, I'll just do it because why not? You know?
Oh yeah, why not, dude? Like it's just it's something to talk about. Not everything you talk about sometimes has to be something you like. There's lots of things, interesting things you can learn from things you don't like. I watch tons of stuff I don't like all the time.
Yeah, and it was just it was one of those movies where, for whatever reason, my mom had something against it. I don't know why.
I wonder if she just think it was like risque or something.
Maybe she from like the cover. I don't know.
It's probably from the cover. I could see that because it's like hot lady in a tight dress.
Yeah, and he has like a shirt ripped. It makes the movie seem like it's going to be much more sexier than what it is actually.
Yeah, it's actually
not much.
Yeah, she's like in a fucking burqa at the end of the movie.
Yeah, but there's not even like much of like there's not much of like a sexual presence in the movie. between him and her or anybody.
No,
really.
yeah, actually, there's no tension at all.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
So, maybe it was just a cover, but I know when I watched when I was a kid, I was excited. I thought it was the shit. I watched it when I was an adult, not so good.
Does he even fight a crocodile in this movie?
No. I think in the first one, does it?
Yeah, he fights a couple of them. That's like the introduction of the character. He's like drags a crocodile into a bar and orders a drink.
Yeah.
And then he kills one with a knife, with his giant knife, Michael.
Because I remember in the first one, but this one he doesn't.
No. Yeah, not at all.
No.
The fuck, dude?
Wait, does he come up with a crocodile over his head, though, in the water?
I can't even remember, dude.
No, he does.
I knew it was you all the time. First you shoot my head, now you try to drown me.
Okay,
The old man.
I guess it's saved. It's saved then. He gets to keep the nickname Crocodile Dundee.
That's the only time they have a crocodile in the whole movie, actually. It's the dead. You don't remember when they're going to the river?
I do. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only time.
You think I'd remember that because it's so fucking stupid. But like, no.
How long ago did you watch this?
Yesterday. And then I watched it. I watched some of it today too.
Oh, really? Wow.
I watched it again. And it just won't stick. It just won't.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I put you through that.
No, not at all, dude. No, I'm happy to do it. It's content for the channel. You can't you can't just talk about things you like all the time.
No, I know. It was good. Hey, now people know if they listen, they don't. It's not as good as what you thought when you were a kid. That's all I was gonna say.
Just save yourself the almost 2 hours, which also I was like, I kept checking the time. I'm like, how does this have 25 minutes left? I'm like, can we build towards something, please? They're out in the Australian outback. Maybe if this was a tight 90 minutes, I could forgive it. But it almost
maybe, yeah, it did. Yeah. I guess when I was watching it the first time, it didn't feel long. I guess to me,
you didn't feel like it was long when they were in Australia, and it's just like scene after scene of him, like them in the bush looking for him. It's like it just felt like it was going on forever. Like I was just like, will this please end? I guess that's maybe just more me. I just was not enjoying it. I was just like, let's be done.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I didn't get that with me, but I know that I forgot a lot of things about it though, and I did have to refresh quite a bit.
Yeah,
because I didn't have to do that with Cocktail at all. Like I remembered that movie.
Yeah, exactly. That movie's unforgettable. In fact, everybody, just go watch Cocktail. Go check out our episode of Zoobox Goes to the Movies, all about Cocktail. It's the one.
Yes,
it's the one.
That's a good one, folks.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, thanks for talking to me about Crocodile Dundee 2. And we'll do it again sometime soon.
Was Paul interested in this movie? He must have seen this.
Yeah, I assume he has.
He should go watch it. This is up his alley, I bet.
Yeah, he's a stupid idiot, so he would probably like stuff like this. Big Paul's he's an idiot, so he would love this movie. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description that will help you learn more about us. Also, leave something in the comments. Do you remember this movie? Is this something you grew up with? Do you have nostalgia for it? Do you think it's bad? Are you a boomer that was around when it came out? If you could leave some kind of, drop a note about what the culture was like. Did you have Dundee fever in 1986, 1988? I know somebody did. Made a lot of money.
He did. A lot of money.
All right, everybody. You have the best one ever. Goodbye.
How to teach you a lesson. I have a thirst for knowledge. Teach me.